when your door is always open for everyone.
Call us about a free furnace today.
Come in, Mr. Central.
From the station that's on your side, breaking news.
A developing story out of Aiken County. The sheriff's office says there's been an officer-involved shooting in New Ellington.
Details are still very limited, still coming in at this time, but we know the shooting happened on Main Street and Sizemore Avenue over there. We also know the New Ellington police chief has called in SLED to investigate this shooting. So we've reached out to state law enforcement to find out anything we can about this.
We also have a crew on the way to that scene, so we'll let you know as soon as we find out anything new.
And we are still continuing tomorrow in just about 10 minutes.
All right, thanks, Riley. Authorities in McDuffie County are investigating after someone vandalized more than 20 buses parked behind Thompson High School last night. Now a 16-year-old student faces charges. And this is some video of the buses that managed to avoid the carnage and still get kids to and from school today.
News 12's Nick Veland has been in Thompson for us today, working to learn more about this case and find out how the district plans to get those students to school in the meantime. Nick, what have you learned?
Yeah, well, the county says that the suspect is a student. I'm just going to show you guys the tire marks, and the damage is still here. And all of this vandalism left the district unable to run their normal routes today, leaving parents having to find their own way to get their kids to school.
I have a busy day every day. Mom of 3 kids. I take care of my grandparents as well.
Elizabeth Higdon's busy day started not with her alarm. Instead, it was a phone call that made her busy day even busier.
It was a nice 6 a.m. wake-up call instead of the normal alarm, just letting us know that buses would not be running this morning or this afternoon.
School officials say it all resulted from a student vandalizing 23 of the 63 McDuffie County school buses. For Elizabeth, when she found out buses wouldn't be available, getting her kids to school was a daunting task.
3 kids, 3 different schools. How do you get them there? So we loaded up this morning, did drop off, and then I decided to pick mine up all early from school.
She says incidents like these impact the whole community, not just parents trying to get their kids to school.
It affects the kids too. They don't know what's going on. All they hear is vandalism, and it's immediate thought for some of them was probably fear. So just as parents, just making sure we comfort our kids and get them back and forth to school safely.
There was light at the end of the tunnel. By the afternoon, some routes were available, but not for all.
My bus for my children is not on that list.
By tomorrow, Elizabeth's kids and other students' routes will be back to normal. Columbia County offered 15 buses to fill in the gaps. And the school district says that, quote, the suspect was being served off campus due to a previous incident, and that comes straight from the district. They were unable to comment any further due to this being an ongoing investigation. The district also says they're still calculating all the damages that was caused last night, and any student that was unable to attend school today because of this, that will be an excused absence.
Okay, big puzzle to figure out, Nick. Thank you. Happening now, families are meeting with Richmond County school leaders to talk about a new plan that would close down or repurpose Terrace Manor and Wheeless Road Elementary schools. Right now, that meeting is happening at Wheeless Road Elementary, just started at 6 o'clock. And if you can't make it out tonight, there's another meeting Wednesday at Willis Foreman Elementary. That one is also at 6 o'clock.
Happening now, the North Augusta Lady Yellow Jackets battling for the Class 4A state championship.
Our sports director, Dan Booth, joins us live from the game at USC Aiken, and it seems pretty quiet, Dan, right now. What's going on?
Richard and Laura, we are in the middle of a timeout right now, and North Augusta was down by 1 at the half. We are now halfway through the third quarter, and the Lady Jackets have a 7-point lead. It's a quick turnaround. We saw the same thing in the state semifinals last Friday when they came back from 6 points down in the first half. Now, one thing that's really interesting and that I've been talking about the entire time leading up to this game is how young this North Augusta Yellow Jacket team is. They only have 3 seniors on this year's roster. There are 3 freshmen who get a significant amount of playing time, 2 of whom are starters, and then you have Ashley Walker, who's an 8th grader who helped provide the spark at the end of the first half to get North Augusta back in this game. And clearly, this is familiar territory for the Yellow Jackets because this is the 6th time they've been playing in the state championship game in the last 7 years. And if they win tonight, that means that they will have their 5th state championship title since 2017. So it's been an incredible run for this Yellow Jackets team, and they just continue to find a way to push through in the second half. Like I said, we are about halfway through the third quarter, so we still have a little bit of time tonight, so please stick around. I'll be back at 7 o'clock, and then I'm going to have a full game recap at 11. So stick around. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to see if the Yellow Jackets can bring another one back home to North Augusta. But for now, reporting from USC Aiken, Dan Booth on your side.
Great to see all that support for the Yellow Jackets in those stands tonight. Dan, thank you. The Major League Fishing Tournament on Clarks Hill Lake coming to a close. The pool was whittled down from 150 anglers to only 50, each of them hoping to win $80,000 in prize money for first place. And it all came down to a head on day 3 of this Tackle Warehouse Invitational.
Hallie Turner live at Wildwood Park on Clarks Hill Lake for us with how the final day turned out. Hallie, how are the fish biting?
Well, if you can look behind me, I'm going to kind of set the scene for you. If you would imagine this place, it literally looks like heaven on earth. It's quiet, it's calm. But earlier this week, it had over 150 anglers out here fishing. Today, it came down to about 50. And then in the last couple of seconds earlier today when I was out here interviewing, the official that weighs the fish all says it comes down to those final few seconds for the winner. It can be a couple of pounds or it can come down to just a few ounces. And for Dakota Ebar, that's exactly how today happened.
You know, I caught that last big fish at probably 2:45, you know, with 15 minutes left to go. And if I wouldn't have caught that fish, I wouldn't have won today.
Up until around 1:15 this afternoon, angler Dakota Ebar was in the lead to win the whole tournament.
You know, all day I was just hustling and working as hard as I could because I knew that it was going to take a good day again. You know, you couldn't, just because I was leading the first 2 days, that doesn't matter. You know, you've got to go out with an open mind and do well on that final day and close the deal.
But when Travis Harriman took the lead, he says his heart began to race.
I mean, I've been doing this for about 7 years now full time, and it's still very exciting. You get that adrenaline in the morning. I didn't sleep the first couple days of the event because I was so nervous and jacked up, but last night I did because I was
So how this all kind of works is when it came down to the final 2 people between Dakota and Travis Harriman, Dakota had around, let me make sure I said this correctly, Dakota got the lead back with 10 ounces. So he was leading at the very end with overall of 58 pounds and 10 ounces. And he secured that bag, but because he was driving a Phoenix boat, he took home the grand prize of $115,000 in a new shiny trophy.
Wow, that is not a bad day of work and not a bad paycheck. Hallie, thanks for giving us the hits, runs, and errors out there. Coming up, Aiken Regional honors a man for saving his co-worker's life on the job.
And heading into tomorrow, we do have the risk for some severe weather and also very windy conditions. Update on the full forecast just after the break. Time in tomorrow afternoon through tomorrow evening. As that strong front's moving through, it's bringing us those gusty winds. And once again, just a low end threat that we could see a severe storm or 2. So make sure you are keeping it here for these weather updates heading into tomorrow. We'll be sure to track those storms for you. Luckily, the weekend looks much better. Sunshine and high temps in the 70s.
Sounds great out there for the weekend. Thanks very much, Riley. An employee at Aiken Regional Medical Center is being honored for saving a life. The Great Catch program highlights efforts where employers were proactive and without intervention that could have been bad news.
But Danny Grenade didn't save a patient's life. He saved his co-workers. News 12's Taylor Barton talked to him about the moment he realized something was wrong.
Danny Grenade is 20 years old. He's a patient care tech, a student at USC Aiken, and an aspiring nurse. He's also a literal lifesaver. He thought his coworker Stephen Turner was asleep on the job. Turns out he was in cardiac and respiratory arrest. He tells me it was a matter of right place and right time because he and Stephen are more than just coworkers. They're friends.
It was definitely super scary in the moment, you know, not knowing what the outcome may be with Stephen, and I'm just glad that I was there for Stephen in that moment.
Stephen Turner is not only a radiology tech, he's a husband and a father who says he's grateful to still be here with his family.
Weird to think that one person, you know, because you meet so many different people, but you never know when it's that one person that's gonna, well, in this case, Danny, that made all the difference.
Danny and Stephen both say they're happy they get to spend more days with their families and working with each other.
I'm more grateful about the time that we have together now, that we almost did it.
Yeah, he's definitely more than just somebody I clock in and out with. He's definitely a friend.
And the hospital says they'll continue the program with the goal of highlighting more employees who keep an eye out for their team. Great coworker to have around.
It's good to have friends looking out for friends right there on the job. Still to come here on News 12, new research showing gas stoves may not be quite as safe as we thought. The I-Team breaks down what you need to know to keep the family safe when we come back.
You're watching News 12 on your side.
Surprising, but at Mount Valley Foundation Services, we'll do a complete home inspection for free, so you can put water back in its place. Schedule a free home inspection today.
The debate over some states banning gas stoves is heating up now. One medical study recently pointed to some health risks associated with gases from the stove and your indoor air quality.
The I-Team spoke to local doctors and researchers to get their take. The I-Team's Will Rio also found if you want to make the switch from gas to electric, a new rebate program will pay some of you to do it.
Those savings come from the Inflation Reduction Act. Congress passed it in 2022, but consumers can now start cashing in. From rebates to rolling monthly energy cost, we break down what the savings really look like and investigate the health risks.
The debate over gas stoves in American homes is creating a discussion for lawmakers from the states to the federal level. That's because a scientific report from Stanford University found gas stoves are leaking dangerous gases into countless homes everywhere. The study really took off like wildfire last year. From Scientific American to NPR, the New York Times, it found gas stoves leak gases whether they are on or off, including benzene, a known carcinogen, methane, which is tied to greenhouse gas emissions and global warming, and nitrous dioxide, an air pollutant that can exacerbate childhood asthma and other conditions. In the simplest terms, researchers found natural gas cooking appliances release methane, primarily through small persistent leaks in nitrous dioxide while in use, damaging the climate and degrading indoor air quality. And it didn't matter if the stove was old or brand new. The research concluded the presence of leaks from the gas stove was consistent.
I am concerned.
Dr. Sunil Kapoor is a pediatric pulmonologist at the Children's Hospital of Georgia.
So I think the question is an important one, and it relates more to not so much gas stoves, but indoor air quality. There have been studies that have demonstrated an increase in air pollutants coming from gas stoves, and there are also studies that confirm that worsening indoor air quality can worsen asthma.
But as Dr. Kapoor stresses, there are other triggers that can have a greater impact on childhood asthma, more so than gas stoves, such as smoking in the home or outdoor pollution as well.
So gas stoves is part of that, not necessarily the driving factor, but it can be part of that. So I would be very concerned in a child who is very high risk for asthma, that is with a strong family history or a very allergic tendency, as well as living in a smaller environment with poor ventilation. That's the population that I'd be a little bit more concerned about.
The I-Team also went to the Georgia Cancer Center to sit down with Dr. Wrdw.
Pollution, of which methane is a part of, has been independently linked to risks of development of lung cancer. Now, it could be that it's because of myriad of other gases that contribute to industrial pollution and not just methane.
Dr. Raval was not ready to tell local consumers it's time to stop using gas stoves or to buy other options. He found the study's size was limited.
I don't think that there is any cancer-causing agents at this time, based on this study. I don't think that there is any association, so I wouldn't be worried about getting one just yet.
But individual states like California and New York are already considering bans on gas stoves in new construction. Nationwide, 40 million Americans cook with gas. Rich Trumka, the commissioner for the Consumer Product Safety Commission, who recently called the appliance toxic, recently tweeted this to clarify the agency's position. CPSC isn't coming for anyone's gas stoves. Regulations apply to new products. For Americans who choose to switch from gas to electric, there is support available. Congress passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which includes an $840 rebate. Locally, the I-Team found 35% of the 4 million homes in Georgia have a gas stove. Across the river in South Carolina, about 19% of the state's 2 million homes use natural gas for cooking.
It's a culture war, and they're like, oh, they're coming for your gas stoves. And it's like, well, look, you could say we're coming for all of your fossil fuel stuff,
but it's going to benefit you.
Joel Rosenberg is with the nonprofit Rewiring America. The group is working to educate consumers on electrifying everything and how they can save money doing so thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, which was the largest clean energy investment in our country's history.
We're trying to get people who are fueled by fossil fuels to consider upgrading their stuff, because all these machines really are upgrades. Like, you know, the electric stoves that you might remember from your grandma's house have gotten much better, just like all technology's gotten better. And we think it's going to take off because people are going to finally say, yeah, it is kind of crazy to burn this toxic substance in my kitchen next to my kid.
So what can homeowners expect by way of savings? Upfront discounts, rebates, and tax credits rolling out later this year, not only for gas stoves, but for eventually cars, water heaters, HVAC units, and other appliances, regardless of income levels.
I do think it's going to take off. I think that there's lots of people in Georgia and the Southeast generally who already live in all electric homes, and they have no problems with their homes. And they're going to say, yeah, it doesn't make sense to keep paying, for natural gas or for gasoline where the money leaves our economy, as opposed to building renewable power and just powering everything and keeping the money local. The sun shines locally, the power can be used locally.
If you own a gas stove and are on the fence, keep in mind that you can still use your air fryer, crock pot, and Instapot if you're not ready for a permanent change. If you want more information on Rewiring America, it's on our website inside the story. They even have an income calculator where you can see your potential savings.
All right, thanks for looking into that for us, Will. We do have some rain in the forecast heading into tomorrow. Unfortunately, not really going to lower the pollen count, so make sure you have those allergy meds close by. Have a look at the 7-day again just after the break.
Rhodes Murphy. Rhodes Murphy, your local trusted income tax service. RhodesMurphy.com.
The accident was not my fault.
When you're injured, you need help fast. Call George Sink Injury Lawyers all night.
You need someone that's gonna fight for you. Call now.
Call George Sink Injury Lawyers all night. Just